Welcome back to the Time Advantage podcast, the show where we help ambitious mid-career professionals accelerate their careers, lead with impact, and work smarter. Today's guest is someone who embodies strategic leadership. Jag Nagendra, joining us from sunny California in the United States. With decades of experience across both public and private sectors, leading teams of professionals, and overseeing multi-million-dollar programs, Jag's journey from mid-career professional to transformational leader is full of practical insights. Whether you're aiming for your next promotion or want to lead without burning out, today's episode is packed with wisdom from someone who's walked the path. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are entirely our own and do not represent those of any organizations or companies we may be associated with. The conversation is purely based on personal experience and professional insight. Hi, Jag. Thank you for joining the podcast. How are you doing?
Good morning, Amir. Yes, thank you for having me. I'm doing extremely great.
So let's get into the first question. What was the turning point in your mid-career journey that made you realize it was time to aim higher to move from manager to senior leadership?
I mean, that's a great question. I've always been ambitious. I've always been ambitious to grow myself and also help grow others. So in pursuit of that, I always had the passion for making a difference. So every step of the way, I looked into and say, okay, what have I done? Have I made the difference? Now, if I say, yes, I made the difference, then I go to the next step. How can I make a difference in a different location or a different place? By doing that, I started to make a difference with one small organization. Then I wanted to expand that to a medium organization, medium scale organization. Then I went into large scale organizations. I went into corporate. I went into private sector. I went into government. All of these experiences, almost 35 years now, is driven by the passion to make a difference. Passion to make a difference in others' life, a passion to make a difference in organizations, passion to help organizations and individuals grow. And that's what has always made me to pursue the idea of moving from a manager to a senior leadership role where the main focus as a leader is developing people and leading people. And that's what I've been doing for so long, and I enjoy even to this day.
Sandra, looking back, what specific actions or decisions positioned you for promotion at that stage?
Yes, so I want to touch on three things. One is in my life, I had mentors. And very earlier in my career, so I can remember back in 1989 when I first started my job, I had a mentor who guided me in every aspect of the job that I was doing. I'll give you one example. My first job was engineering sales. After my graduation, I started this job, but I had no idea about sales and I had no idea about industry, but I needed someone to guide me through this whole process. And I realized the value of the mentors at that time, how much value they bring and how much they can accelerate my career instead of I'm trying to figure things out on my own. And that's one thing that has really helped me with that process. While doing this relationship of mentor and mentee, I also had an opportunity to describe my ambitions to my mentors. So what happened there was that my mentors looked for opportunities for me instead of I'm looking for opportunities, because my mentors believed in what I can do and my potential. So they started to look for opportunities. So that's why I started to getting into different positions and different challenges in my career for 35 years. The second important thing is that planning ahead. And always I have done is I've planned ahead. I know my vision and my goals in my life, and I have a plan to achieve those. And then those plans will be very specifically talking about in first 2 years, I'm going to do this. The next 3 years, I'm going to do this. And 5 years, and 10 years, and 20 years. It has all along been planning and ahead of the opportunities that we were getting it. And more important than two of those is I did not stop learning. that is a extremely key success factor in my career, is that once I graduated from college, I thought, okay, I'm done, so I don't have to study anymore, right? However, in my career for 3 decades, it's taught me is that the learning it's a lifelong journey. And as I learn through my journey, that has given me opportunities to make course corrections in my career. One example I want to share with you is back in 2002, when I looked into the project management, for example, and when I was very new into this country in the US, and I wanted to understand what the project management profession is all about. And I studied for 2 years, and then I got my PMP certification, and then I started to apply that in my job. That gave me an edge over all other engineers who were in that organization at that time. And that helped me to see as one extremely valuable employee who is not only an engineer, but also brings the project management skills into the job. It's like two people doing one job. And that resulted in effective execution of projects, even though it's all engineering projects, and also an efficient way of managing the tasks and planning, and all the elements of that was combined with. I've never stopped from there. Continue to learn. Even now, I continue to learn and then move with the pace.
Yeah, what's coming through in your answer is education is very important to develop those skills to give you that opportunity to take those senior positions. Were there any informal strategies, visibility, stakeholder alignment, sponsorship that helped? You mentioned about having a mentor, which is very important, but what about things like visibility, things like this?
Yes. So in any organization, in order to grow, so we have to be visible. And now what happens is that how do we make ourselves visible is an important question that we all have. And as I mentioned, mentors are the greatest way to get that visibility, because the mentor in an organization that you choose could be someone in a leadership role, or could be someone in a higher managerial positions. And these are the people who are walking around and in meetings with other peers and their management team or their leadership team, and they're in discussions with what's going to come maybe 2 years from now or 3 years from now. So that's where I think they can look into those opportunities and bring those opportunities for the mentees and say, hey, there's something coming up. I need you to start preparing for this particular opportunity. That's one way of looking at it. The other way I always found useful is just taking the initiative, right?
Mm.
Because when I see something happening, or when I see something going on, let's say we hear a strategic plan or a roadmap for my organization, and then I see that the organization wants to go in a certain way, I raise my hand and say, how can I help? Right? Even though it is not my day job that I'm supposed to be working on those special projects, but I always say, hey, I want to get involved in this particular project, and how can I help? And I know I'd also try to say, hey, this is something that I can bring my experience, bring my knowledge and my skills, and then make this project much a better execution and so on. So that taking that initiative, and also taking this initiative in an enthusiastic way, and not like, oh, I don't know why I'm doing this, but more passionate and enthusiastic way, will help other people see that you have the ambitions and you wanted to grow. And the third important thing is also that we are talking about big picture view. Wherever you are in an organization, if we just focus on what we're doing, I think we're going to miss out on the big picture, what's happening. So keeping an eye on the big picture and asking the questions why, and why we are doing what we are doing, and then understanding how they're all interconnected with the different departments, different divisions, or different organizational functions, will give us as individuals the confidence that we can do anything in that organization. Because if, for example, if you're working in an engineering discipline, it's a good idea to understand how this organization brings revenue on the function side. It's also a good idea to understand how this organization supports customers. right? So that is the other functions that are inside that organization we need to understand, but not restrict ourselves to what we do as part of our job. I think, once we expand our knowledge base, and also once we expand our expertise in other function areas and how those functions are related to what I do, will give a much bigger perspective on my job as well as the work I do, and the importance of what I bring to the table is going to be a tremendous impact on that. So those are the three things I'll focus on getting visibility.
That's really helpful. The next question is, were there any pivotal projects that accelerated your transition to senior roles, and what made them stand out to you?
Yes, I did. This was back in 2003. I was working for a small to medium-sized company, which is in California. And this company was so small, and they were trying to bid for large projects. And I was asked to do an estimation for the large project. And this is all in controls and SCADA and engineering projects. And I did the estimation, I made the proposals, and I submitted the proposal, and fortunately or unfortunately, we won the contract. And so at that point, the founder or the president of the company is looking at me and say, "Whoa, we won the contract, but we don't know how to execute this." And so that's the time I raise my hand and say, "You know what? I know you hired me for doing sales and estimation, but I'm also a project manager, and I also have the engineering and technical skills in executing this project. Why don't I just take on this project myself and then execute the project?" So that pivotal moment in life where you're transitioning right away from estimation and sales into something project management. Now, I was able to switch that within a period of like days, because I had built the skills, I had built the experience to that point. But if I were to make a career change at that moment in time, it would have taken me 3, 4 years before I learned what project management is and how to manage projects and how to do that. So always being prepared and always being planning ahead that there is something or may knock on my door and I need to be inside the house to open that door is always worked for me. So that project ended up 5 years long project, and I have managed that project, and that client that we work with has given me numerous letters of recommendations where they said that they have never seen any engineering project managed the way I manage those projects. And that is what helped me to grow from, in this company, I was an estimation engineer. From there to I was almost as a program manager within a short period of time. But what really attributed to my growth there was of raising my hand and saying that, I will take on this project. And at the same time, I was not just for the sake of saying I was saying, but had the experience, I had the knowledge, and I had the skills already built up to that moment to take on that initiative and take on, take on that project.
So I think from what you're saying, what's coming across, plan ahead and prepare accordingly so that when the opportunity does come, you're ready for it.
Absolutely. I think we call in the project management world, we use the word proactive. So we need to be proactive and rather than reactive. So always, I look forward to, what's 5 years from now. And again, it tied back to my personal goals because I knew this is where I need to be. And if I know where I need to be in 5 years, then I know what I'm going to be doing in 2 years from now or 3 years from now, because those paths have already been laid out. It's easier for me because when at that moment of 2003, when I was raising my hand, way back in early 90s to late 90s, I clearly knew where I want to be position myself and what kind of skills and the knowledge that I need to acquire to be ready for that. So that's how it really helped. And many times I've seen people say, well, we will learn when we get there, right? That's going to be hard. It's like, it's like coming to London, taking a flight from, San Francisco, and then getting down in London and then figuring out, okay, what I'm going to do now. So that's going to be hard. But instead, I think having the plan and say, I'm going to land in London and then I'm going to, day one, I'm going to do this. Day two, I'm going to do that. Day three, I'll do this. That type of planning is extremely important because we are really good in doing that for vacations and anything we do. But I think we need to apply the same thing to our career, be able to see where we want to go. And all of that has to be driven by the vision and the passion that each individual subscribe to.
It's very valuable. How did your approach to productivity change as you moved up in leadership?
That's a good question. And working in California for the last 22 years, it has always been, we're talking about productivity. And I had this transition from India to the US, and we talked less of productivity when I was growing up, and also when I was working in India. And then when we moved to this country here, so we are talking more of productivity. And because of the labor cost and because of the time, that is a shortage of resources and so on. So the best way that I have managed the productivity is something called manage. If an idea that if you can measure, you can manage. And so when it comes to productivity, it's easy to talk about it, but at the same time, what is it? And how do we measure it in any given organization, whether it is organizational productivity or whether it is a project productivity or just my own productivity on a daily basis, which I need to manage. So we have to put some metrics in the process where we can understand and we can measure what the productivity looks like. So the productivity increase, what I've seen, has been through various methods. Obviously, automating the processes has resulted in increased productivity. Delegating to the right people at the right time so that the tasks can get done with the minimum amount of time that is required. And also, we are looking at making sure that the people are trained, and then they have the opportunity to experiment the training that they have gotten, and then produce what the results that the organizations are looking for. So overall, it is a matter of knowing where we are, and then measuring our progress, and also how do we know that we have been productive? That is a quick question. So we need to be able to answer that question. We need to be able to measure, and we need to be able to continue to make progress in improving the conditions, improving the processes, and also adding the tools that we currently have and or we don't have, and then finding those tools that will help us in efficiency and also being more productive.
What are the key systems or routines that helped you manage your time, team, and decision making more effectively?
Good question. The three things I want to talk about. One is earning the trust of my team, which is extremely important, and the second is having a higher level of emotional intelligence, and then the third thing is that asking the team to try and be innovative. So that is extremely important because that brings the confidence in the team that they're empowered to do and so on. So the first thing we talk about is earning the trust. And if I'm leading a team, or whether it is on a project or an organization, I need to earn their respect. I need to earn their trust. And how do I do that? And one of the ways I've done is providing what I call a psychological safety. And a safety that in my team's mind that they can come to me anytime and anytime with any questions and any issues, and they have no fear at all. And so there are set of expectations that are given to my team, and then there are boundaries that are set, and within that they continue to work. And I focused on making sure that my team has the courage to come to me with the questions, or even if they want to have a tough discussions, or even if there's a situation that is unpleasant, and we want to be able to do that. So that's one thing. And then the second is that as a leader, we have to have the vision and then also be able to listen. So it is extremely important. So if we don't have a vision, if I don't tell my team where I'm going, why would I expect them to follow me, right? Because then they're confused and they're going to be, having a car sick situation. Instead, I need to explain to my team where I'm going and then where I am taking them. So that's the vision part. I want to make sure that they know. And at the some of these tools will certainly help to earn the trust. And the second tactic or the strategy in this case always used is building my own emotional intelligence skills and increasing those to a higher level so that I can manage different situations. I can manage the emotionally intelligent people that work for me or work with me, which certainly helps. Because the emotional intelligence is all about identifying and managing my emotions, as well as identifying and managing other people's emotions as well. So most of the problems we see, it comes through how I come across to my team. And I may have an open door policy and tell everybody that my office door is open, you can come through anytime. But if they don't have a courage to come through the door, there's no point in having an open door policy, right? So that in order to build that courage, I have to be highly emotionally intelligent, where I practice empathy, I practice great active listening skills. I also have the relationships and the trust with my team, right? So third thing I always do is I ask my team to innovate. So I give the freedom, I give the independence to look at any problem and then come up with a solution and then try it. Even if we fail, that's fine, right? Because there are set guidelines on where they can work within the confined environment of what they're working on. They can always fail, and then we can always learn from it, and then we can move on. I think that is extremely important, and that's what leads to what I call psychological safety in people's mind, that their organization supports them. They are ready to innovate. At the same time, if there is any failures, they are learning from the failures and putting back into the work. So the failures does not mean that they need to be punished. Failure means that we learn something new, and then we put that back into work and goes on. So all of this certainly helps to bring the organizations and the team together in making a successful and one happy family there.
How did you manage being a leader of a large team while maintaining personal performance and avoiding burnout?
That's a great question. And when we're managing a large team, what I've always done is, what is the plan? Do we have a plan? And the first thing we work on is establishing a plan, establishing the roles and responsibilities, establishing the expectations, establishing the deliverables, or establishing the criteria for success, because it all comes down to communication. So more of the work that we do has to do with communication. More of the problems that I have faced is due to the lack or poor communication that happens across the organization or within the project team. So it's a good idea to have a plan ahead of time so that everybody is on the same page, everybody knows what they're doing and continues to support that particular project. So there is always a chance that the plan that we put together, we think is complete, but as we move into executing a project, we may need to make changes to the plan or tweak something because, for example, we have a team member who either retires from work or he leaves or he's put on some different assignment, then whole dynamics changes. or there is a project that we initially thought it's going to take 10 months to execute it. Now the sponsors are saying, hey, we don't have 10 months, we're going to get it done in 7 months. So that changes the whole thing. And so these things will bring a lot of pressure on the team. Okay, these changes are not easily tolerable on some of these projects. So in this situation, what I have seen, the burnout or the overworking will come in, and we need to be extremely careful in how we manage the relationships on the team. And this is when the emotional intelligence comes into a really good play. Because if the team is working on, and if they feel, again, underlying the word, the feel, if they feel that the management is not listening to them, if they feel that the management is being unreasonable, if they feel that the leadership doesn't know what they're doing, okay, that is the end of it, because those thoughts in their mind could lead to a stressful situations for them, uncertainty, and it also drops the productivity and it kind of impacts the morale. So in the situations like that, the leadership is always tested hard, and how a leader behaves, how a leader adjusts, and how a leader leads those changes is extremely important. And then if a leader is not emotionally intelligent high enough, then we can see this a slippery slope, and then the whole thing can start sliding down and sideways, and we're going to have more burnouts and more turnovers. But we need to take a look at what the issue is and remove the people from the issue, then just focus on the issue and then try to solve the issue within the available means and within the resources that we have. Because there is no point in trying to commit to working 48 hours a day when only we have 24 hours in a day. So that's not going to be possible. So those are the things I would certainly look into. Is obviously a stressful situation requires a great leadership, and also a leader who portrays the idea that that person is there to support the team even during the stressful situation. And then also the feeling that the team has, which is my management team or my leadership team has my back, and they're doing everything to protect me. They're doing everything to protect the company, and that type of feeling will be more beneficial instead of anyone thinking that my management team doesn't know what they're doing, or my management team is putting us into trouble. And that's very negative way of looking at the situation, right? So as a leader, our job is to create an environment where each of these people can realize their potential. At the same time, they are open enough to innovate and then come to the leadership team if there are issues that needs to attention from the organization.
What mindset shifts were critical for you to succeed at the senior level? And looking back at your journey, that you felt for anybody else in a similar situation, if they were to apply it, will accelerate them further?
That's a great question. Throughout my career, especially when I was an entrepreneur and running my business, I was always thinking about the risks. I was always thinking about the risks. What can come and shut down my business? What can come and take away the revenues or my profits? It's always thinking risk. At the same time, while I was having these thoughts and how I'm planning for the risks, I developed a mindset of thinking everything in a negative sense. And I did not even realize that, you're working and so hard and we're always looking at the risk. But by training the brain to be, looking through the lens of the risk management, I've trained my mindset became very negative in the sense, if I look at something and say, oh, that can fall, or if I look at something and say, oh, that can create a flood and to take away the people. But the shift I made over a period of time in the last 25 years has been that one, yes, there is risk, but now we're going to look at, okay, what is the positive? Is there a positive side of this risk that we're looking at? So the point here I'm making is that shift in mindset for me as as a risk person with a lot of negative thinking, and now it's changed to positive thinking. So over a period of 25 years, I've used different techniques, so whether it is reinforcement techniques, cognitive behavioral techniques, or just understanding and training myself on emotional intelligence. I have shifted my mind to see positive things in every situation, right? So I go into a meeting with an idea that I'm going to learn something new. And when I come out of the meeting, guess what? I did learn something new. And when I meet a person, and irrespective of the age, even if I meet a toddler, I go and meet the toddler telling myself that I'm going to learn something new from a toddler, and which is going to be fascinating. So just that mindset of the continue to learn mindset, telling myself that in any given situation, there's always something positive. And what is that positive thing has transformed my career, as well as has transformed my personal life, because what's inside of me is what you see outside. And if I am positive, and if I'm coming up and my thoughts are positive, then my actions and my behaviors and my attitude and everything is going to be positive. So it's driven by inside, and that's what I've done in the last couple of decades in shifting from the negative to a positive mindset, and which is looking good in everything.
Did imposter syndrome ever show up during your transition? How did you deal with it or help others through it?
That's a great question. In fact, I was speaking to one of my mentee a few days ago, and this is exactly we talked about this imposter syndrome, and the idea of not having the confidence, and they're always trying to uh, portray and struggle and so on. So one of the best ideas or the advice I got in my career has been is to be with my people. That's what they said. Be with your people. They never understood what does that really mean. Is it, now you say be with my people, like I'm an Indian, so should I be with the Indians, or so I did not really understand. But later on, I discovered that the idea of be with your people means that if I am a project manager, I need to find other project managers. If I am a leader in an organization, then I need to find other leaders. If I am an engineer, or if I am a programmer or a software person, I need to find a group. So this is what really helped me to understand how other people are doing. Because a lot of times if we're by ourselves and we have no community that is going to help us or support us, we get stressed and we have no idea what's happening. And so I started to work. I joined a project management institute, which is a global organization. And back in 2003, and then I got my certification as a project management professional in 2004, which is almost 21 years ago. And after I got my certification, I said, okay, I found my people. So that means I became very, very actively involved in project management community. And I also joined the board of the project management Sacramento Valley chapter. And I served as a leader of the chapter for 8 years. And the last 2 years has been the president and the CEO. So this one experience of just being with my community, just being with my people, has helped me gain more insights and helped me gain more perspectives, because these project managers that I work with, they came from different industry, different backgrounds, different experiences. And it has helped me understand the difference that project managers are making. It helps me understand that how important project management is, and also help me understand that I'm not the only one in this, right? There is a community of project managers that are there to listen to, that speak the same language. So that step, what I did was help me gain the confidence in the career itself. And that helped me gain the confidence that if I need to, I can always depend on team. The other thing I discovered is that I needed to be a better public speaker. And if all of my confidence was that I was not able to speak well. I was not able to speak eloquently. I was not able to speak in an impactful way. And that's what I just found out back in the mid 2000 and late 2000. And then what do I do about it? I need to take some actions. I started to taking classes on public speaking. I went to community college. I learned the aspects of public speaking for almost like 4 months of class. Then I needed to practice what I learned, and I found Toastmasters. And Toastmasters is an organization that helps develop the leaders and also the public speaking skills. So I joined Toastmasters, and then I spent years in delivering speeches and then getting feedback and improving my speeches. And by doing that, I built a shield around myself, and we call that a shield, which is like a confidence. I built my confidence that I can do anything. I can speak to anybody. I can ask questions to anyone. I can, listen. I can give positive feedback and so on. So the Toastmasters really helped me, and that's how I was able to get my Distinguished Toastmasters award as part of the Toastmasters. And so that certainly helps. And then third thing I do is I read books, and I have a very specific knowledge area that I want to read and understand, and especially for leaders. And I have found that the books about behaviors, the books about habits, books about mind, books about the emotional intelligence, and all the research that's going on is what I'm reading and what I'm understanding it. And especially when we are dealing with people, we need to have those basic understanding of how people behave, why they behave, and what happens, and so on. So that certainly helped me to get out of this low confidence or no confidence, and be a very confident person who I am today.
What's one strategy or principle that every mid-career professional should apply today if they want to grow into leadership?
One strategy is managing up. 2 words, managing up. So if you are a manager, and if you are trying to become a senior manager, if you are a vice president and you want to become a president, you are a president, you want to become a CEO, whatever the next level is, you need to understand how to manage that person. It's always, we have seen that your manager manages you, but there is also an aspect of you managing your manager. So the idea of managing up is extremely important. And why is this important? Because when someone is looking to hire you for the next position, invariably, in my experience, they will pick someone. These are things that I've seen is they'll pick someone they can work with. They know that they have a high confidence that I can work with this person. Or they will pick someone who is already doing that job so that you have a less of a learning curve. And so these are the 2 things will be extremely important. They can work with the person, and then they're already doing the job. So what does it mean? When I say work with the person, mean that that person brings the higher level of emotional intelligence skills, that person is a good listener, that person can articulate the issues, that person can better communicate, that person is very positive minded, that person can lead the change, that person can handle themselves better during a stressful situation. All of this brings up to that person to say, hey, this is the best person that can work with this person. And then comes down to the idea of you're already doing the job. This is very, very key. I think I touched on this earlier, is knowing what the requirements are for the next job while you're working in your current job. Okay, so if I'm a manager, and that if I'm looking for a senior manager job, as a manager, I'm working, I need to know what is that makes these 2 positions different. Is it the skill set, or is it an exposure, or is it the relationship? What is it? What does it make different? right? Write it down and say if it's a skill set. For example, if I'm a manager and there's a senior manager, and as a manager, I speak to my team, but as a senior manager, they speak to the media. Okay, so then speaking to my team is different than speaking to the media. So what is the skill that I need? Start working on it. Start developing those skills. Media presence is different, and then talking to my team in a conference room with a closed wall is different. And that's where we look at what is that position requires us to have those experience or the knowledge that is required. And if we can, how do we do that? Again, it's part of managing up. So I go to my boss and say, hey, I'm ambitious, and what do you do? And what do you think is the skill set that I should focus on in your job? And I'm sure they will tell you because they have been successful and they have been doing this for many years. And they can tell you, hey, I need you to work on these skills, and these skills may not be useful in your current job, but this will become highly useful in your next job, right? So understanding that right from that position is extremely important. And so I would say managing up is the key word there. And then being prepared and understanding the skill set that is required for your next job, and then working on it while you are in your current job is the secret to success.
If you are mentoring your younger self, what advice would you give about building a career that's both strategic and sustainable?
Important. Good question. I would say if I'm young, maybe let's say I go back to early 90s, and I would say build relationship. That is the advice that I give to my younger self is build relationship with everyone. Do not think about whether if I build a relationship with Amir, is he going to help me or not? Or if I build a relationship with John, no, do not think about what this relationship is going to do for you, but just build relationship and think about what I can do for them. So don't expect to just where I don't understand why I should help this person. I don't understand why I should build this relationship because this person doesn't do anything for me, right? That becomes very opportunistic and very transactional basis. But build relationship with everyone. So if I'm in an organization, if I'm working in engineering, build relationship with marketing, build relationship with finance, build relationship with people who are in sales. And it doesn't really matter, but be open and build those relationships. And that's what is going to be important in your career, in your journey to go from a mid-level to a senior manager, or from senior manager to a leadership role, or even from an engineer to getting into supervision or management roles, is it all comes down to the relationships. So I would urge myself as a young person to focus on building those relationships. But these relationships I'm talking about are something that are a meaningful relationship. And that way, when there is a situation or when there is an opportunity, people can call you and say, hey, I talked to you on that a few months ago, you showed some interest in this, there's an opportunity. Do you want to look at it? That build the relationship to an extent that they want to speak good about you when you're not there.
Thank you for sharing your journey. I know many mid-career professionals listening today from a number of things you've said will walk away with a clearer sense of how to step up strategically without burning out. If today's episode resonated with you, make sure to follow the show and share this episode with someone in your network who's ready to grow. And don't forget, the path to promotion isn't only about doing more, it's about doing what matters with intention. Remember, small shifts create a big impact. Till next time.